over. Awesome. They're fighting. They're fighters. Go. Come on. Hey. Stop it.
I have a
Stop.
right now for volleyball.
I'm always stressed. I am super stressed always in the park because you see that smaller dogs they start to be afraid of them. They start to bark, and our dogs start to react, as an answer. And it's like it's so I'm always like so stressed. You see what's happening, and then they will start to react.
And what happens if you call them?
Nothing.
They won't come.
Titan. 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 No, zero respond. Titan. Titan. Titan, ко мне. Ко мне. Ко мне. Ко мне. Titan. Ко мне. Hey, stop. Titan, ко мне. We have two beautiful big horses
Yeah,
that
I
are
see.
not listening to us. As you can see, we just got to the dog park, and we need your advice.
Yeah.
We need your
How old are the
training.
dogs now?
They just turned 1 year,
Okay.
and size-wise, I hope that they will grow bigger. So they definitely need control. We definitely need control.
How much control do you have now?
I would say 25% from 100 that could be.
Okay.
Yeah, like
And if you called now, he wouldn't come to you.
Titan, Titan, Titan. No.
Yeah, this is bad because if they're big dogs and if they keep getting away with everything. I see the other one is all the way down there.
Yeah.
So we definitely have our hands full here. We have two very large dogs. They are maturing. They're just 1 year old, so these problems will definitely escalate and turn into something much bigger if we don't address it right away. They have zero control in my eyes when the dogs are off leash. In the sense that if the dogs do want to get in trouble and do something here, get in a fight or just run away, if they get out, they would not have any respect for the owners, as we have been seeing here. So we have a lot of work to do starting on a leash. I don't think they understand the severity of what they have in their hands right now because the dogs are still growing up and they're still puppies right now. But give it another few months to a year, these dogs will become very out of control and very dangerous.
What is the sound that you always make, like?
This just helps get the dog's attention. So when I do the psst, psst, and the touch as well.
Like
So the
this?
way that what I'm doing here is when a lot of dogs, they will actually respond naturally to just the sound, even when they don't know anything about it before. But if they don't know and I want to teach them the sound, this touch right here with the psst and the leash pressure, it helps bring the dog's attention to me. So the next time he hears it, he associates with things that get his attention, which is the touch and the leash pressure. So if I do psh, it brings his attention. Then when I walk, psst, see how fast he responded to that?
Yeah.
From like once or twice of just doing this. And again, these things, just touch techniques and the leash pressure, it just gets the dog's attention to me.
Okay.
And the sound is just a reminder of, hey, I'm talking to you, pay attention to me. Because sometimes if you're just talking like this, we're talking to humans, we're talking like this, right?
Yeah.
And then you say, hey, can you sit? He doesn't know I'm talking to
yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah.
Now, what I want to do before we actually get into too much of that is just focus on the leash manners and teach him to follow us, like building engagement. So there's actually ways for you to build engagement without having to use a lot of treats or anything, but just using what you already have on him, which is the leash, but there's little things that you can do to make it better. If you just put a leash on the dog and you go for the walk, he is paying attention to everything else
Yes,
around him, the
yes,
smells, the other dogs, the people,
you.
and you're just holding back. You know what I mean? Like you're no longer as exciting because there's too many other things happening outside. Now, what we have to do is when we go out with the dogs, we want to teach them to always pay attention to us. So we have to be more active than everything else around us. See, there's dogs over there. We're going to go this way. Come. And this little leash pressure right here. Come. Yes. Until he gives into the pressure, then we walk away. We're going to come back. Come. Good. Leave it. Come. Yes, that was better. Good boy. Now, when he responds, we want to reward him, just telling him he did a good job and releasing the tension on the leash.
Okay.
So watch how right now when he's next to me, there's no tension there. But if he pulls towards a dog or something, I'll go over here and do this. Come.
Change the direction.
Yep. Switch directions and do the little tag on the leash to get his attention. So remember, this little tag, it's to get the dog's attention, and when he responds, you release the tension so he knows, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. So right now, he's paying too much attention to things outside. Instead of me just telling him, no, 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 I'm gonna go over here, come, and teach him to do something different instead, which is basically just coming towards me. Come, yes, good boy. Sit. That was much better at the sit already, you know? So we're gonna get him to, once he realizes that we are paying attention to him and we're teaching him to pay attention to us, he's gonna be a lot more focused on what we want from him. Okay, come. Come. Psst, sit. So he's actually very, very attentive. Down. Down. So see what I did, instead of telling him down, 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 I only said it twice. The first time I noticed that when I said down, he wasn't even paying attention to me, so he couldn't hear me. The second time I did a little touch on him, and then I said down because the touch brings the dog's attention to us.
So one of my questions, since you are fixing the collar, because it was too big for him, which collar is the best for training? Like, what do you think also about electric collars or the one that you are selling, like your own collar? I know that you have one. So which one is the best for training?
So prong collars are really good. I'll show you why they're so effective to communicate with the dogs. Some people are scared of them because of the way that they look, but really prong collars.
Which one, this one?
This one. So this is called a prong collar, and the way that they work is basically, if you're using it correctly, the way that they work is just getting the dog's attention through the sensation that the collar delivers. Now, a lot of people just associate them based on how they look with pain. You know, they're gonna have to like dig into the dog's neck. So this sensation of the collar, basically with a flat collar, they ignore it because they just flat tension on the neck that goes like this, and it doesn't get their attention. Now, what the prong collar does, it's kind of like this, you know, little, like, see how he is acknowledging that? And it's very little pressure. You can tell with the fingers I'm doing here, it's pressure point, and watch how he's acknowledging that pressure.
Yeah.
So the way that the prong collar works is something that is on his neck, so you don't have to keep doing this here all the time, because it's not, you know, visible for you to be doing that all the time. So basically the prong collar is gonna allow you to do the same thing using the leash. So when I do this here with very little pressure, and use your body language, watch how that brings him in. So it really gets the dog's attention to us. Sit. Yes, good boy. So maybe a dog is like still learning commands, but they're not like 100% yet, and they need something to help bring his attention to us. That's what the prong collar is doing. Okay. So the prong collar is not really, if you're training your dog properly, let me rephrase that. Because the thing here is now we're not gonna get here and be like, sit, and yank on the collar, you know what I mean? What really all that it's doing is helping guide the dog and keep them a little bit more in check, so that they're not out of control pulling every other direction. Because when you're teaching them to come to you and to sit and to lay down, it's a learning process. It doesn't happen overnight. Meaning every time you take your dog out and they see another dog and they chase them or they try to get in a fight, they get in front of a car, until they get fully trained, it can be several months or several years of training, and you don't want to wait for all that because there's just so many bad things that can happen from now until then. Now, with the prong collar, brings the dog to a level where they're under control. So they're under control. It doesn't mean that they're more trained, but they're more under control. And then in the meantime, you're still training them, and it's helping you succeed more because every time you go out, you have a way to reinforce the behaviors. So for example, let's say he's recalled, right? So just to call him to me. If you have any other caller and you call him and maybe have food in your hand or maybe have toys, but he doesn't want it and you keep calling him, he might just ignore you. He might just not come to you at all. Now, because I have this collar on, I now can reinforce it that when I call him, Macho, come. He doesn't respond, I do this. Macho, come? Yes. Now, a lot of people, they're gonna look at that as like, oh, you're hurting the dog for him to come to you, but anyone can see, you know, with the amount of pressure, it's very little pressure. It's like 2 fingers and I do this, come, yes. And now, really, the way that the training actually works is just a matter of being consistent. So every time I call him, Macho, come, yes. And I'll keep repeating that and never let him get away with not listening to me. See, there's a lot of distractions around.
So what do you do if they are not listening?
So basically just right here, Macho, come, come, yes, good boy, come. Good. That little bit of leash pressure, you know. Right now, again, he's not fully engaged with me because it's not very exciting to him to come to me. There's no food, there's no toys, and there's a lot of other things happening around. But that's not the point right now. We're not trying to get him to be excited to come to me right now. We're just trying to get him to come to me because it's for his own safety. As far as training him with treats at home, you can do that. And that's great. It's good for the dog to learn to actually want to come to you. But what this is doing is getting your dog under control. I like to explain that because there's a big difference. So you're not really necessarily just training him, he's under control. And then as you're practicing, he's going to get better.